let's say we're starting 7:07, right?
Yep.
Okay. So you already started discussing what was going on, right?
Just like for 30 seconds before you joined. So
Is this something I should
Didn't miss
record?
much.
Eileen booked the space.
Oh, and it's going to be the at the high school, the theater.
That's right. And I also contacted WCAT just as they, as an FYI, we want to do this live, but as we get closer, that might change. They were fine with that.
Okay, so they will be there for the March 8th date.
That's right.
Let's see. Put the wrong thing down. High school on March 8th.
I do have a question about the March 8th date. We didn't really set a time, so we set it as like in the evening, assuming it would be 7.
Mhm.
But then I was like, maybe that's too late. I mean, we can adjust it however we want, but just something to think about.
I think traditionally these meetings have started at 7 because people have dinner and they have to come home or finish their work day.
Okay.
So I
Perfect.
think
Good.
starting at
I
7.
made a good choice then.
Yes. And WCAT is signed up for a live. Are we going to use their services if we have to do virtual in some way?
I would guess.
How is this going to work? In other words, logistics, if we have to go virtual, are we going to be pre-recording individual Zooms? Are we going to try to have all the panelists sitting socially distanced in the same room being filmed by WCAT? I think we need to talk about that.
I think we want to try and keep the character of it being a group conversation that the moderator with all of the panelists. And yeah, please feel free to disagree. So, but I think we can talk with them about, if it has to be virtual and we do it over Zoom, then people join the way that they would join any Zoom meeting. And are there any other details, like in order to show it, if we wanted to show it live, what would WCAT need to do to help us do that? Because if it wasn't live, then the meeting is recorded anyway and they just rebroadcast it. But in terms of doing it live, then I think that would be the one question, unless there's something that I'm missing.
Yeah, because that's what I was thinking about. It would be best if we had everybody, like you said, sitting socially distanced in the same space, being live streamed or pre-recorded over Zoom.
If they are socially distanced, will they still have to wear masks? Probably, right? Indoors.
They're inside.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I guess
And
the only
things may
downside
change.
of that. Yeah,
Right.
sorry, go ahead, Maria. You go ahead.
No, sorry. I was going to say, depending on where things, like if we do it in person, depending on what case numbers are, I don't know if it would be possible that, yeah, I don't know.
Right now, the town could lift that mandate, but
Right.
I don't think it's going to be lifted by March 8th.
Yeah.
I will say, so the middle school did a fantastic job last night with their music performances, and it was broadcast on WCAT. It's a little clunky when you see people on TV sitting together and they're wearing masks, and there's something about that you lose.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe we can't really make that decision quite yet, but that versus doing like a tape panel Zoom and then it gets shown on TV, that feels a little different, where you do get to see people's emotions and reactions and nodding and smiling and that kind of thing. So it's hard.
Or it could be a combination. We could have, like, the initial question, where is your family from and when did they come here? And we can do individual people's doing that. And then the other questions, we can have the panel and they have to then ask. So it would be like a 2-part thing. where
Yeah.
we have one part that's pre-recorded and we can see their faces. And then the panel discussion, when we have the other range of questions we ask people. It could be that they do wear masks because they're all sitting in the same room and they're interacting.
Mhm.
You think that that might be a good compromise? I know it's more complicated because it means we have to do pre-recorded as well as the live.
I mean, I
And-
guess it sort of falls to WCAT, right? To help us with that and what they've seen. But I like the idea, right?
Well, the Zoom, you could do separate from them, recorded separate from them, and provide them with the link to show, because isn't that what they did last year when they interviewed all the businesswomen in town? Everybody was individually Zoom interviewed. I know I was Zoom interviewed, and then they showed it on the Facebook page. But as long as you have the link to that recording, they can be broadcast.
Right.
Yeah.
So, which the thing is, it's such a moving target. The meeting I was at earlier today was an association I belong to. It's my professional society that I'm a member of, rather than something I manage. And they're struggling like crazy. They had to cancel their big conference. I was one of the people who always goes. I've gone for 30 years. I refused to go in person. They didn't have a virtual option. They're bleeding members and money.
Yeah.
Because they're not able to cost effectively put on hybrid programs.
Right.
But I think that with a combination of Zoom and WCAT, if we have to, we can sort of have that compromise where we do see people's faces and their expressions and their personalities through their faces.
Right.
At one portion, and then we go to we say, this is the pre-recorded now, and now we're going to introduce the panel as a whole. Do it that way.
I like it.
Do you think logistically it'll be a total nightmare, or do you think we could do it?
It may be. I mean, it may be a little clunky, but I mean, they must do those kinds of transitions all the time now, especially, right? So we could talk with them about it.
Right, exactly. Yeah, just work
Why
through
not?
the logistics. They might have, this might be a really easy lift for them, or they might be like, here's another suggestion of another way to do it. So yeah, I think we keep talking with them as time goes by and COVID continues to force us to shift.
And who was the contact at WCAT who you spoke with?
It was an email and Barbara Worley.
Okay, yeah, that she's the head person.
Yeah, Ryan Boyd replied as well.
I'm writing both their names. BOYD, Boyd, and WORLEY.
Yes, Ryan Boyd, BOYD. Yep,
And WORLEY is Worley. Yeah,
that's right.
okay.
Yep.
Because I think we should have that in our records for the.
Mhm.
We may need to, it may be easier if sometime we have a mass meeting where we sit down with them to talk about this, rather than trying to just go back and forth on email.
Could we just invite them to our next
Yes,
Zoom meeting? Let's
yes,
just do that.
okay,
And I'll email her right now, actually, while we're talking.
okay, because we're trying to come up with, oh God, it's so difficult. Our next Zoom. Last time I scribbled all my notes on a piece of paper and it was a nightmare trying to figure out, because I wrote them in every different direction.
Yeah.
I'm typing tonight. This way I can keep it straight.
Right, yeah,
Okay.
good.
Okay.
I spoke with Maureen earlier today, and she would be happy to moderate.
Ooh,
So yes, we have a moderator, and Saratine Rizzuto is enthusiastically agreed to be on the panel.
and she's from what country? Is it Dominican Republic?
Dominican Republic. Yep.
Okay, because I reached out, I haven't heard back yet. I reached out to both Teresa, who is from Chile,
Mhm.
and Maya, who is from India. And both of them are immigrants. They were not born here. So their story they've been here a while, but their story should both be very interesting. I tried to sell it as best I could. that it wouldn't be that we would share the questions with them in advance, and it's not like we would ambush them in any way. You know, we would make sure they knew what they were going to be asked and the reason why we're doing this. So I'm hoping. For the life of me, I cannot find the name of the woman I told you about that I in the restaurant, one of the Thai restaurants. But the alternative is Winnie, who's Korean. That's
Oh,
another
was
South
she
Asian
one of the
person.
parents that helped with AAPI month?
Yes,
Oh, great.
and she is incredibly animated person. And Winnie would be happy to do this because she was the one who did the joint reading with her daughter.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, so she is just delightful. So if it's okay with you, I will shift and talk to Winnie
Sure.
and see if Winnie will. Because like I said, I'd like to have people from all different continents. Like I said, the one continent we're missing still is we're missing Africa.
Mhm.
And I can't remember, was I the one who was supposed to get in touch with Black Student Union? I don't know if that would help at all, or Yana, just with Youth Council, or how would we identify someone from the community who might be of African origin? Would our Metco person know?
I mean, they may. I feel like their connection is to the students from Boston, but
But there might be a
who
student
knows
from
if one of
Boston
those
who's from,
students, right?
yeah,
Yeah,
who might know. Because I don't know of anybody in our immediate community who is no more than first generation American.
Right.
You know, I know, like, I'm second on one side and fourth on the other side. And, you know, Eileen, your family, let's see.
gosh,
Beginning of the,
like we've been here since the potato famine.
I was about to say, right? And Maria was the Italian family came over at the beginning of the 20th century, just like my Lithuanian family came over then. Yeah.
Great grandparents from Italy, and then also great grandparents from Ireland. So
Okay. Well, I have a cousin who is now doing so much genealogy work. Of course, most of my family from that part of the world got wiped out by Stalin, and Hitler did the rest. But some got here. My grandmother and grandfather got here. My cousin's been finding out amazing stuff, but of course that didn't have much influence on my background because their whole thing was talk American, be American. You know, they did not want us to be Russian peasants or Lithuanian peasants. And the other side of the family is so far removed from the Austro-Hungarian Empire that, you know, and one grandmother from Ukraine, she was like second, third generation American. She wasn't even sure about family history. So I think it's, if we can find someone who is, like I said, more people that are closer. Saratine's going to be wonderful. I think Winnie will be wonderful. Teresa, we know Teresa. She is just a wonderful person. This is going to be an exciting panel if we, you know, get those people. So I think, you know, and I'm trying to write at the same time. Elvina Gonzalez. Okay. What else do we need to do at this point? It seems like we're making some great progress here.
I contacted She Major too.
Oh, that's right.
I haven't heard anything. That was today, so I haven't heard anything back yet.
all right.
That's
great.
easier to pre-record.
Yeah.
But it would be nice if, even if we showed a pre-recorded concert of theirs at the end and it wasn't live. Are they still performing or are they practicing? Because, you know, singing together has been a sort of a no-no.
Right. Well, I mean, I don't know. I know that the Galvin Middle School has been doing their concerts. I can't remember if the high school has done concerts.
That's the question. Yeah, there's supposed to be an a cappella show next Sunday, the 29th,
Oh, okay.
and we're waiting here if that will still happen.
Happen. Right. Yeah,
It's
I know they
tricky.
performed, I think it was She Major. It was one of the high school a cappella groups that performed, although it was outside, at one of the events down on the Common before Christmas. Yes, so they are still performing, but I don't know how much performing indoor performances they're doing.
Yeah, it might be the kind of thing where everyone's dressed up in really warm clothing and they're at the gazebo one afternoon and they're filmed at the gazebo to finish our program, which would be a nice touch.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, that'd be great.
And then beyond that, I think if we, I know we had started the list of questions. I didn't know if we wanted to add more or wait to see who, until we get more of the panelists secured. I mean, I don't think there's any rush. So
I think I would very much like Maureen to be part of this too, because certainly if she weren't the moderator, she would be invited to be on the panel.
Right.
Yeah. So I think, I mean, the basic, like I said, for the what we might do, the pre-recorded unmasked interview, where it would be just basically, please tell us a little bit about where your family is from and when they came here and what was the circumstances of their coming here.
Mhm.
That's, you know, just the facts kind of thing. And then after that, we get into deeper issues.
Yep.
Yeah.
Sherry, you did mention something that made me think of a question though, about when, you know, family comes to the United States and they sort of, you know, assimilate to the way that people operate here and they leave behind, you know, some traditions and pieces of their culture so that they become American, right?
Mhm.
That's sort of an interesting idea of, you know, what parts of your family do you feel like you had to leave behind, right, in order to fit in or get along, which is so sad to think that you can't be yourself in every way, right? But I'm sure it happens with everyone.
Yeah. The interesting thing about Maya is that she more often than not still dresses in a sari. So she,
Excellent.
in fact, I can't recall ever seeing her in Western dress. So that's something that she's really held on to, the tradition of wearing a sari.
Yeah.
And I really wonder if Emma's mom has said yes or no. Because we
right.
were depending on her for our
Oh, right.
European connection.
Right.
And do we also, do we have enough representation in terms of across the years? Because, you know, people come at different times for different reasons. I mean, with Maya, her husband, I believe, is a doctor, and he had an opportunity to practice here or study here, and then they stayed and raised their family there. With others, I mean, we don't, with Emma's mom, they might have been unrest in Poland and they left. I'm curious if we shouldn't even consider trying to, and this is like profiling, but somebody who's escaping particular violence or war zone, like someone who's Vietnamese, for instance, instead of someone like Winnie, who I think her family came here under better circumstances. But I don't know. I know there must be someone in our community who's of Vietnamese background who has that story, because that's a story that is, I mean, it's been told many times, but I think it's an important point of view because they had to leave under great duress.
My only, I want to make sure that we don't have too many people on the panel. I think that's my first
Exactly.
concern is
No, I
that,
was thinking that as an alternative to asking
yeah.
Winnie.
Yeah, I'm also not quite sure. I mean, for many of those people, I think the trauma is still very fresh, and I would just, if we don't know anyone, I'm not quite sure how we would put the request out to the community without sounding, I'm not quite
Like
sure.
we're profiling, right?
Right. Or, I don't want to risk re-traumatizing anyone or,
Right.
yeah.
So, yeah, because I was thinking, do we have mostly people who are of a certain age group? Except, well, yeah, it seems like everybody we have is in their 30s or 40s, not older. So, I mean, does it really make a difference? Because we're more interested in the cultural issues, the cultural changes for them. And I didn't write down like bunches of questions, from the minutes. So I don't really have a recording of questions we might ask, because I thought we were going to work that out once we knew who the people were.
I mean, I think aside from the intro, one of the more general questions that we had were, did you have expectations of what,
right,
what coming to the United States was going to be like, and how were those expectations met or not met?
I was just typing that out actually when you were about to say that.
Yeah.
I have land acknowledgement notes for days, but do I have my IWD notes? No.
That's okay. That's okay. I can resend them to you. They were one page. I tried to make my minutes very well.
Thanks, Sherry.
Actually, the general meeting minutes go on quite a bit because then he has these huge agendas. Got to trim them back a bit. It's too much for one meeting. This meeting, I was glad it lasted under 2 hours. That was the first time in how many meetings? That was good. Okay, so next step, have a meeting and invite the WCAT people to talk with us and keep working on confirming our panelists. Because right now we have Sheraton from Caribbean. I hope we have Maya from India, Teresa from Chile, Emma's mom from Poland. That's 4. There was someone else. I'm leaving.
Winnie.
Oh,
Possibly
well,
Winnie.
someone from Southeast Asia. Okay, that's 5. And possibly someone of African origin if we can identify somebody. So no more than 6, or do you think 6 is too many? Because I remember most of the panels we've had have been 6. The live
Yeah, I
panels.
wouldn't go past 6.
No, I wouldn't either. That's
Yeah.
too many.
Especially with the chance that it might be virtual. That's, it's more things to record. It's, yeah.
Mhm. Okay. So I will type these up so they make sense and send them out so we have some kind of memory. And when shall we, well, we have to, you know what? I use Doodle. Should I perhaps contact for all of us? Let's the 3 of us agree on dates that we're available and then see when the others are available.
Do you want to wait until I hear from Barbara Worley to see when she's free in the evening?
Okay. Oh, I was just going to think, I thought I would, how Doodle works. You suggest several dates and times.
Yeah.
And then see if someone's available. So you want to work it from the other way? Will you give me when? Okay, why don't we do that? Let's ask her to give us several times when she is available, and then I can send out the Doodle and we can all answer.
That's perfect. And then
Okay.
I'll share it with you. That way we
Okay.
just know for sure we'll get her to come.
Right.
Okay.
And then once we have the date firmed up, I'll email Sherry and set up the next meeting.
Okay.
That's great.
Just to go out.
There was something else I was going to say, and now I'm having one of those days. It's Friday night.
This is my 4th Zoom this week, so I've had enough.
Oh, I've spent my day on it. That's the
Really?
problem. I've spent my whole day on it.
On Zoom.
It's
Oh.
gone. I don't know. Yeah.
Uh,
It must have been a lie.
and we have to keep in mind that February is a very short month and March 8th is gonna like come
Right.
right at us really soon.
Right.
So the sooner we can get together and the sooner we're able to get the process going with our panelists, the better.
Yep.
Great.
Okay, so I'll get the minutes done. I'll keep following up with and find a person possibly from Southeast Asia. And like I said, should I don't know if it would be nice if we had someone who's a really young person, like a student, because that might be the easiest way to be, unless it's a student's parent who would
Right.
be willing to be a panelist. So
Well, Emma had mentioned someone from Haiti.
that's the other half of Dominican Republic. It's
Right,
Hispaniola.
right.
So I was thinking the African continent.
Right.
Because that's a very different experience. I mean, have you read the book America?
Yeah.
But the experience the woman of privilege from Nigeria has when she comes to the United States and suddenly she's Black.
Yeah.
And she was never anything except a Nigerian woman beforehand. It's really, and I was thinking of that issue. I think our book group will probably read that book too. It's an excellent book. So who do you think I should try to find out from? Should I try to get in touch with the Black Student Council, or should I start with Yana and ask her to make contacts for us?
I don't know. I feel funny about reaching out to the Black student. I don't know why I'm pausing on it. But I am. I have a colleague that I work with that's from Africa, and his wife came here 7 or 8 years ago. It's been a while since we used to see each other every Christmas, but it's been a couple Christmases. So I'm happy to reach out to him and maybe he can suggest someone. They live in Medford though. That's okay, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that would be great. So you know someone.
I do, but it's been 2 holidays we haven't seen each other, but I think it won't hurt for me to text him and see, even if he could suggest someone, if Virginia isn't comfortable. So I'll see what I can do, and then I'll let you all know.
Okay.
Before we go to the Black Student Union. It feels funny to me.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll do that.
And I don't know if the high school has like an international student society.
Yeah, that would be good. I
Because
mean,
that would be an easier way of doing that and saying or any of your members, of African descent, from an African nation. But I think the fact that you know someone, that's going to be the best way to do it.
I'll start there.
Okay. And like I said, I'll find out someone from, like I said, Southeast Asian background and hope that Maya and Teresa. Maya was not at the meeting last night, the Books by the Lake, for Wednesday night, which is unusual. So I hope she's okay. And let's see. So it seems like we are done. This is always so efficient. This is great. I call that we adjourn. We don't need motions, but it's 7:36.
All right.
Friday night.